Okay, so this is the third period review video where we will knock out, or we'll do those 5 problems. If you need one of the other problems, then look for the other videos. Everything's posted in Schoology, YouTube, lots of links. Again, we provide you with a ton of stuff. Probably very few of you use all of it, but a bunch of you use a bunch of it, so I'll keep doing it. Okay, number 2. Before I even get started, I see a negative sign over there. Does that mean this is no solution and I can stop right now?
No.
Why not? Yeah, I gotta get the absolute value thing by itself first, and then we can worry about negatives or not. So if you see it, you're right to be cautious, but I can't make any conclusions just yet. Let's subtract the 3. That would get us negative 99, which turns out to be a nice number because let's divide by negative 9. So absolute value of 4 minus 5m equals 11. So it turns out okay. This one's going to work. Now, there are ones on this worksheet and on the test that don't, so you're right to be, have your brain turned on and be watching for that negative, but you don't really check for that until the absolute value is by itself. Okay, 4 minus 5m equals 11. 4 minus 5m equals negative 11. So negative 5m equals 7. Not enough space. M equals negative 7/5. Negative 5m equals negative 15. At least one of them is nice. M equals 3. And do you remember the rule for when you absolutely have to check these? Okay, I don't know that I emphasized that very much. I just said check them all the time to be sure. The only time you absolutely have to check them is if there is a variable that's not in the absolute value bars. So I'm pretty sure both of these are going to work. Like number 1, I would definitely need to check. Number 5, I would need to check. I think both of these are going to be okay, but let's check them anyway. 3 minus 9 times 4 minus... I'm going to do a little work on my own here. The 5s will cancel, and so I'll be left with plus 7. So 3 minus 9 times 11. 3 minus 99 is negative 96. And then for m equals 3, 3 minus 9, absolute value of 4 minus 15. 4 minus 15 is negative 11, but it becomes positive 11 because of the absolute value. 3 minus 99 equals negative 96. That's also true. Again, I didn't really need to check those. The only must check is if there's a variable outside of the absolute value bars. So maybe first pass through the test, you don't check them, and then if you got time at the end, maybe you come back and check to make sure you did it right. Any questions on those, Jacob?
Is that negative 99 right below 96?
Where are you looking at, right here?
Right below the equation that we were getting. To the right? Yeah, I'm curious. Isn't that supposed to, shouldn't that be 96?
Well, I subtracted 3 from both sides right here
Oh.
to get the negative 99. Yes, sir.
If there were extraneous solutions, how would you write a solution?
So if there's an extraneous one, I would just mark out the one that doesn't work. And you can label it extraneous if you want to, but you don't have to. You can just mark it out if it doesn't work. Number 6. Same kind of issue. Negative over there, so I'm worried, but I'm not making any conclusions yet because I don't have the absolute value thing by itself yet. So let's add 7 to both sides. Negative 8, absolute value 2v minus 5 equals negative 88. This is real similar to number 2. Divide by negative 8. Absolute value of 2v minus 5 equals 11. So it turns out we're okay. We're going to be okay for this one. 2v minus 5 equals 11. 2v minus 5 equals negative 11. 2v is 16. V is 8. 2v is plus 5. Plus 5 is negative 6. So v is negative 3. And since there was not a v, a variable, outside of the absolute value bars, I'm not going to check these. I don't have to. Again, this might be one where first pass through, you just leave it, put a star next to it, and then if you finish with, 30 minutes left, you're like, well, maybe I should go check those to make sure I got them right. Question on that one? That one was nearly identical to number 2. Number 10. Okay, now we're into a different type of problem altogether. Solve each inequality, graph the solution, and then interval notation. So make sure you do all of the things we ask for, right? You don't want to make a 98 on the test because you just didn't answer something in the right format. Number 10. It looks like it's a greater than problem, and I guess right now it is, but I don't make that decision until it's time to split them up. So subtract 7, negative absolute value 7 plus 6n, greater than or equal to negative 5. Divide by negative 1. That's what will flip this around to a less than. So now I can determine the and or the or. Is this an and or an or problem? An and. Does that mean I'm looking for the overlap or for the anything?
Overlap.
The overlap. Also, does it probably mean we're looking for the inners or the outers? What do we think is going to happen? The inners. It's the less than problem. So I'm pretty sure it's the overlap and the inners. Let's see what happens. Well, let's rephrase that. I know it's the overlap, and I'm pretty sure that's the inners. 7 plus 6n is less than or equal to 5, and 7 plus 6n is greater than or equal to negative 5. So 6n less than or equal to negative 2. N is less than or equal to negative 1/3. Ooh, that's a negative sign. Do I need to flip the inequality? No. Like, don't get over eager to. What requires me to flip the inequality? Dividing by negative or multiplying by a negative. But I didn't do that here, so we're good with the less than. 6n greater than or equal to negative 12. Same type thing. I'm dividing by 6, so I don't need to switch the inequality around. So less than negative 1/3. I'm going to put my number line up here. Negative 1/3 and negative 2. If there's a problem like this on the test, I can just about guarantee there'll be 1 or 2 people who mess up where the negative 1/3 and the negative 2 go. Which one of those numbers should be on the left-hand side? Negative 2. Because negative 2 is smaller than negative 1/3. So greater than or equal to negative 2, less than or equal to negative 1/3. And it's an and problem, so I want the overlap. So it's that middle stuff. It is the innards. So negative 2 to negative 1/3. Yeah, lots of stuff going on. Lots of partial credit if you mess something up, but hopefully you keep everything straight and get all the points. All right, let's skip ahead to 14. what would you like to do first on 14? Because I see two options. Subtract 2. What would the other option be? You could multiply by 4 if you really didn't like fractions. But this one's not bad, so I would just subtract the 2. Now we're ready to do the split up thing. It's another and problem. So n over 4 is less than or equal to 2. And, so overlap, so the innards, n over 4 greater than or equal to negative 2. So less than or equal to 8, and greater than or equal to negative 8. Let's see. Negative 8, positive 8, less than or equal to 8, greater than or equal to negative 8. So the overlap is the stuff in the middle. Negative 8 to 8. Lastly, number 18. Then I'll take whatever questions you have. Ooh, I'm worried about 18. Why am I worried about 18? The negative. So, am I ready to say this is no solutions or all solutions? Not yet, because I have to get the absolute value thing by itself before I start making those calls. So maybe I'm right to be worried, but I can't make any decisions just yet. Negative 4, absolute value, negative 3 minus 2n, greater than negative 84. This thing's got all negatives in it. That's divide by negative 4. So I don't have a negative on the right-hand side anymore. Negative 3 minus 2n. There's so much going on. Here's a common mistake that somebody's going to miss. What do I need to be careful about here? Flip that inequality around because we divided by a negative. But again, that's one that you could miss because your brain might be like thinking ahead, worried about the negative. Oh, it fixed the negative, it's positive, we're okay. And while your brain is doing that, you forget to flip the inequality. Less than, so another and problem, which means all we've done is and problems, so we'll go back and catch some other ones in a moment. Negative 3 minus 2n less than 21, and negative 3 minus 2n greater than negative 21. Okay, so now I've got two simple inequalities to solve, hopefully simple. Add 3 to both sides, divide by negative 2, but be careful, we divided by a negative, so inequality's flipping all around the place on this one. So greater than negative 12. Add 3, negative 18. Divide by negative 2, so flip that inequality. Less than 9. Greater than negative 12, but less than 9. Yeah, this is gonna work. Negative 12, 9. So negative 12 to 9. By the way, you can mark out number 21, those two problems. It would still be wise to review your notes and stuff, but you don't have to do those two problems. Okay, so that concludes the video for that fourth of the problems.